subject that I think a lot of people do not understand all that well. And that's what brings me to this idea of price controls on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 20th of March of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on Facebook, my Facebook page, Kurt's Religion and Politics there, Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, minds.com, and mynds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group primarily there, Parler, Gab, or Twitter. Again, the subject I want to talk on is price controls today, and I think I want to go, as usual, through my notes to give you some idea more or less what I'm talking about, and then of course we'll discuss that more as we get done with the notes. I've asked and answered the question any number of times. Why doesn't socialism/communism work? To begin with, except in hybrid models, pretty much everybody tries to accomplish things via what amounts to a command economy. You're in control of the resources, and a piece of that is you manage the economy. Put simply, they try to manage decisions on what people need and maybe even want based on what a planning committee, or more than one of them, says should be produced. A piece of that process is almost always setting prices for goods. Setting prices, right? That goes over like a lead salami. The reason is pretty simple. When people come to understand that someone else will be deciding how much they're compensated for producing things, who generally makes that decision on largely an arbitrary basis, they either stop making whatever it is they produce or stop caring about quality. I periodically tell the story related by Dr. Thomas Sowell in one of his basic economics texts. He talks about someone in a country with a command economy, I think it was in the USSR, in the former USSR, I don't remember for sure, who was tasked with plowing fields. Seems like a pretty simple thing, right? The person was told he would get some sort of reward that would be contingent on the speed of his work. That's fine. This incentivized him to do the job quickly. Sadly, it didn't cause him to do a good job. He plowed the outside of the field as the entire field should have been plowed. As he moved inward, he raised the plowshares so that he could go faster. The result? The crops on the outside of the field looked great. The stuff growing closer to the center looked blighted because, and this is not really all that great a surprise, it was blighted, okay? When you do things like pay people badly for work, one of the natural results, particularly if you force them to continue to do that job, is for them to not care much about how well the thing created is created. And by the way, this works equally for what they refer to as capitalist and is more correctly referred to as free market economies. Works every bit as well for that. Okay? Just like our man on the tractor pulling the plow. That's what it's like, what you see. This is perhaps the most important reason price controls do not work. When a person realizes he or she can't get as much for what he or she creates as he or she needs to survive, or better yet, thrive, because that's really what we're all looking for, he or she has a choice. Quit producing it, up his game, his or her game, make a better product, that's what that is, or move on to producing something else. In a price control world, if you don't force people to continue doing things, they quit. When they decide there's not enough when they decide it's not worth their while to continue, they quit. That's what they do. Don't believe me? Look at what's happening to medical professionals working with Medicare and Medicaid patients. Many used to take such patients, and they stopped doing so when they began to realize what they made doing it wasn't enough to keep their practice in operation, to keep the place that they were running in operation. If you force them to continue, the quality of their work not just is likely to, it must suffer as a result. Even if they care. even when they care, even if they care. Why? In order to continue to live their lives and support their families, they must find ways to produce what they do ever more cheaply. And this is already a problem in a free market economy. But when you put somebody in a situation where you control what they can charge for things, that's going to make it even worse. China's answer is to criminalize badly made products with dire consequences for those who put them out there. Want to work in such an atmosphere? More power to you. I certainly do not. Whether you like it or not, if you control prices, a number of things happen and none of them are good. None of them are good. One such thing is that you control prices, and if you set that on a high enough level, so you control it over a state, or worse yet, over a nation, what ends up happening to that state or that nation is, in one place where it's more expensive to live, you set a price for something and the price is too low and people just stop making it, or again, make it really cheaply or really poorly as a result of what they're doing, right? That's one possibility of something that will happen. Regardless, all other things, what we know to be true is, if you tell people you must make this and this is what you can charge for it, those people will be in a position where either they will make that and make something else and stop caring about the quality of the first thing because they know that the second thing is going to be their moneymaker, or they're just going to reduce their quality to make it so that they can continue to afford to live in as much as they're able to do so. Now, there comes a point when there's just literally a misery that occurs overall because nobody is able to make that product even poorly at a price that makes it so that they can actually continue to survive, much less thrive. Right? So the problem with price controls, with a command economy particularly, and with price controls, is when you set the price on something and when you start talking about gouging, right, which is one of the favorites for a lot of folks on the left. When you start talking about this idea of gouging, particularly when people are actually just trying to recoup what it is that they had in their cost on something, when you talk about that and you make it so that prices are fixed at a given level, what you actually do is make it so that the people who are making those things either drop out of that market if they can, or continue to make the thing but do so poorly, and a lot of times still suffer the consequences of the fact that they can't charge what the thing is actually needs to be worth in order to make it possible for them to survive. I've said before, look, when you've got a person flipping burgers, that person can say they should make $15 an hour all you want. By the way, that's another form of price controls. Wage controls is, in a sense, another form of price controls, because when you say a burger flipper has to make $15 an hour, what you're saying is the people who pay that burger flipper have to up their ante in terms of what they're charging, and that is, in some senses, control of prices. Only in some senses, right? It's not as bad as direct, overt price control. It's basically covert price control. That's what it amounts to. So what I'm trying to get across to you today is this. Whether you're upping wages in order to try and create price control, whether you're trying to reduce cost by actually setting a fixed price on something, however it is that you manage to do that, I pretty much promise you the outcome of that is not good. It is not good. I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you think controlling prices is a great idea, you're probably one of those people who thinks controlling wages is a great idea. And let me just tell you, in both instances, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Neither of those works. But today, of course, we're talking about price controls. And the thing that I want to get across to you is this. If you control the prices of one thing, then unless the prices of other things come down in a commensurate fashion, people who make those things cannot buy the things that they need to survive unless they reduce the quality of the things they're producing, or do something, find some way, use different materials. Maybe there are some ways that can actually work, but not in general, not as a general thing. It's just not going to happen. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 20th of March of 2022. That is the beginning of the Christian week, according to most Christians. That means tomorrow will be Monday, the 21st of March of 2022. It's the 20th today, in case I said something different. I don't think I did. That is the beginning for many, maybe most folks, of the work week. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's Kurt's Religion and Politics. Kurt's Religion and Politics on Facebook. The Facebook page there. On Locals, Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on Minds.com, and MyNDS.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be picking me up today. I'm not going to go through the stuff about various things. I'm going to cut that out because I have something at the end that actually talks about that. Subject for today has been price controls, and tomorrow we're going to talk about standards. And this is going to take a turn that maybe a lot of people are not going to think about initially, but it's really an important consideration, and I do want to bring that up again on tomorrow's show. Hope that you're having a good day today. I hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will, in fact, see you on that Monday edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Sunday, the 20th of March of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. Minds, MINDS.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.